What's up, you guys? So I am coming to give you all your ancestor message for tonight, your nightly surrender, things that you need to be surrendering or that they want you to surrender, and a message that they are wanting you to have. And so right now what I'm feeling and I'm hearing death, and I'm hearing rebirth, detox, all of these things. So it's something that is having to be done with, right? Something that you need to get rid of. So it's time to die. And it's time for things of your soul to die. Old ways, toxic behaviors, toxic patterns, toxic beliefs. It's time for it to die. It can't exist in this new paradigm. That's why it's so hard for you. You want to know why it's so hard for you? It's hard for you is because you're still trying to live off of the ego. You're still trying to live for validation of others instead of living out your truest purpose and living out what it is that they want for you. All right, it doesn't matter what nobody else wants for you. All that matters is what your guides are trying to lead you to. What's your life purpose? What's your soul path? This is what you're trying to get back into. This is what you're trying to get on. You're trying to get on your actual timeline. So in order for you to get on the timeline that you're supposed to be on, in order for you to experience the things that you're supposed to experience, old you has to die. Ego you has to die. There needs to be a cleanse. There needs to be a purge. There needs to be a detox. Things has to be extracted out of you in order for you to be in the space that you need to be in. So it's time for that cleansing to happen. It's time for that death to happen. And it's time for that rebirth to happen on the other side of that. All right, so all you dying, new you rising. All right, new you rising to your truest potential. Your ancestors are wanting you to really get started working with them because they are a part of you, right? They are that DNA, those things that need to activate in you, it passed down to you from them. So you cannot be who you are unless you know who they are. You understand what I'm saying? You will not be able to be who you fully are until you understand who they are and who they were. And that way you could activate those things in you. Because there may be certain things that they have even cut off for you because you haven't killed off that part of yourself that makes you, a person that may do things out of malicious intent. So you have to kill that part of you off. The side of you that holds resentments and hold grudges, that side of you has to die. That side of you that is ego driven and need that validation, it has to die. It's time for all of those toxic traits and toxic behaviors to die. That need to get back at somebody because you feel like they did something to you, it's time for it to die. It has to go. And so that's why some of those gifts are locked off. Some of those gifts are locked off because you haven't tapped into who you're supposed to be. You haven't tapped into your higher self. You haven't lived through compassion and live with compassion and lived out of love. So therefore you're not going to be able to access those things because your heart and your soul is not in the right space. So you has to die. That's what your ancestors want from you. It has to die. That side of you has to die. You are not where you're supposed to be. It's hard for you because you haven't done what you needed to do. So provision has not been made. The path has not been clear. Provision has not been made. The path has not been cleared. You have to do what's necessary for you on this soul journey. And your guides are constantly telling you this. They're constantly telling you this. They're sending you all of the synchronicity. They're sending you all of the information that you need, and you're overlooking and you asking them, like, how do I get on my soul purpose? How do I get on my path? And when they send you the information, you're like, oh, that's not it. But it is it. It's what you need. It's what they want from you. All right? So, you have to die. Rebirth has to happen. You are not where you want to be, or you are not where you desire to be because you haven't done the things that they've asked of you. So the provision has not been made. And as long as you continue to try to force yourself in that 3D, force yourself into this paradigm, this old paradigm, continue to try to make yourself fit in this old paradigm, guess what? You're not, a way is not going to be made. And you're going to continue to struggle and suffer. And you don't want that, right? You don't want that. And I'm sorry that this message is a little harsh, but sometimes you need that kick in the toot. You need that kick in the toot in order to get what you need to get. But that side of you has to go, all right? That's why it's hard for you. That's why That's why things haven't worked out the way that you really want them to work out. That's why it's coming so small, because ego is still in control. So you have to let ego die. Ego must die. Ego needs to be buried. Your ancestors need that to go in order for you to really tap into who you are. And then you'll be able to raise your vibrational frequency up to the level that it's supposed to be, so you can access the things that they are trying to give you. And if you don't know your ancestors, you will not know what is needed to be activated within you. If you do not know, and guess what? You don't have to know them physically. You don't have to ever have met these ancestors. I'm telling you, they will reveal themselves to you. They reveal themselves to you through dreams, through numbers, through meditation, through yoga. Things will just... I know you may not understand it, but because you can't use logic when you're doing the spiritual thing. I know you may not understand it, but they're going to reveal themselves to you. Once you begin seeking so that you can understand, they will begin to reveal these things to you. So you must now surrender to the process. So that's your surrender for the night. Surrendering to the process. Surrendering to the process that they want, that they have laid out for you. Surrendering to the path that your guides have laid out for you. It's time. You want your life to get better? You want things to go the way that you want them to go? Then you have to do the things that you need to do. You have to do the things that you need to do. You can't say, oh, this isn't working for me, and you haven't applied any of the tools that you learned. You just learning, and no application of any of the learnings. Learning, and no application of any of the learnings. So it's time for you not only to learn this information, but it's time for you to apply some of the things that you are learning. You have to apply the knowledge. Knowledge is not power unless you apply the knowledge. People can have all the knowledge in the world and do nothing with the knowledge, and they just a person with a lot of knowledge. But it's the person with a lot of knowledge that go out there and apply the knowledge that they have, which makes them one of the most effective people in the world. Okay? So surrender to your process. Surrender to your path. Surrender to your process. Surrender to your path. So that's pretty much it. It's time for death. Old you has to die. New you has to come in. Once new you comes in, you're going to open up different portals. You're going to access things that your ancestors have for you. All right? You're going to access parts of your DNA that you didn't even know was a part of you, because right now you're operating out of the parts of the DNA that did not work well for them. And so they really want you to tap into those other things. All right? Trust me, you've been through it before. In another life, all of the things that you're good at, you've mastered those in other lives. It's time for you to really access the things that you have come here to access. But you have to surrender to your process. You have to surrender to this path. It's not going to be easy. Nothing's easy. Especially when you start doing this ancestor work, real healing will commence. Things are going to show themselves. Things are going to reveal themselves. You're going to find out things about yourself and your family that you didn't even understand exist. But that's going to also help you be able to cope with a lot of the things that upsets you about your family. All right? Because you don't understand your family because you don't understand your ancestors. And you don't understand your ancestors because you haven't tried to access them. Yes, you might not get along with your living ancestors, but you can establish a relationship with your non-living ancestors that you never had with your living ancestors. And that will begin your understanding of your living ancestors so that you can begin to forgive them and you can begin to heal from the things that they unknowingly and knowingly did to you. Surrender to your healing. Okay? Surrender to your healing. That's what I'm hearing. Surrender to your healing, right? Surrender to forgiveness. It's time for you to begin to forgive. You can't continue to hold on to things and hold malice in your heart about things that you have no control over. So you have to surrender to that forgiveness process. How can you be walking around here talking about you somebody's heal anything and you haven't even surrendered to your own forgiveness? You haven't even fixed that stuff. You haven't even fixed that stuff. How you helping people with their marriages and you got a whole bloodline full of failed marriages? You know? So it's things that only your ancestors can help you through. It's things that only your guides can help you through, but you have to surrender to that forgiveness, surrender to that path, and surrender to this process. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If you guys are interested in any personal readings and things like that, all of my information is in the description below, so you can find my website. Also, if you guys want to come on to Patreon to join our anonymous corners and work with me on more ancestral healing, you can of course sign up. All the information in the description below. Peace, and I'll holler at you.